Hey guys, and welcome back to today's live stream. Thank you for everyone who's tuned back in, and I hope everyone's been having an amazing day. In light of yesterday's results day, I hope all your results went as planned. However, I do understand that there were students out there who didn't get the grades that they needed or wanted, and I hope today's live stream and conversations with the guest, who I'll soon introduce in a second, will provide tips and advice to those students out there. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the guest to my live stream, who's just kind of going to tell us who she is, her story, just how have you been? Go for it.
Hi guys, am I on?
Yeah, you're on. You're on.
Okay, cool. Hi guys, I'm Jessica. I'm a third year medical student at King's. I got into medicine from taking a gap year myself, so I know that right now a few of you might be worrying about where your next steps are, where your journey is going to take you next, and I'm just here to kind of provide advice, talk about what I did. Should I just go into I might answer some of the questions whilst I kind of introduce myself. So I'll just talk about why I took a gap year first, and then we can kind of go into the questions.
Yeah,
Is that
fabulous.
better?
Go for it.
So the reason I took a gap year actually was because I just wasn't prepared for medicine. Throughout year 13, I applied to Oxford, Imperial, UCL and Keele. Obviously I wasn't very tactical, so I took the UCAT in around August. So before I even got my grades for A-level, and took the BMAT in November. Did not do very well in the BMAT, so already 3 of my BMAT unis were knocked out of the park, and it didn't make me feel good. I mean, Oxford and Imperial rejected me straight away after, and I just had UCL and Keele left, who both offered me interviews, which I then also messed up. So for me, it was lack of preparation, guidance, knowledge. I got my A-level results like you guys did yesterday, and I got 4 A's. So it kind of made me feel a bit better. It made me feel like, okay, I have the grades to study medicine. It's just about reapplying and being tactical this time and kind of going through the admissions tests and interviews all over again. So that was kind of my reason, my story of why I took a gap year. Yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, I know a lot of students who will be watching this, who had their results yesterday, will relate to kind of your stories in one way or another. So hopefully they'll learn a lot from your experiences. As we'll progress through this live stream, you'll probably tell them kind of the mistakes you made and how to avoid them, and the things you did well, and encourage them to do the same. And yeah, thank you for sharing your kind of experience with results day and the reasons why you went into a gap year. And the first question that's actually been sent in is about your gap year experiences, and this is quite a general question, so you can choose to answer it as you want. So for Matter, I hope I didn't butcher the name, asks, hello, what did you learn after your gap year? So that's a big question.
Big question, and it's a really good question, actually. Sorry if I'm looking off to the side, because I can see the live stream, so I can see some of the questions as well. So what did I learn after my gap year? I have to say, my gap year, as cliche as it is, it did change my life, and it did make me very mature. I definitely learned a lot more about what medicine actually is like, especially working there in the NHS. So I got a job as a healthcare assistant at an NHS hospital near me. And compared to being one of the work experience students, kind of from the outside looking in, I was actually one of the staff. I was dealing with patients on a day-to-day basis. I was taking vital signs like blood pressures and oxygen saturations. I learned lots of sciencey medical stuff, but I also got tons of patient interaction, whether that was, dealing with death, dealing with cardiac arrest. So in terms of all those key interview questions that they tend to ask you, when have you shown resilience, when have you worked under pressure, I could tick these off so easily because I'd worked in the NHS myself.
Yeah.
I also learned how to save up money, which is quite a good skill for uni in general, not just medicine.
Yeah, for sure.
And I used that money to actually go abroad to get some clinical experience as well. So I did a program called Gap Medics, which is now called Global Pre-Meds. And this was a paid experience that I just felt like doing because I have an interest in global health and I wanted to see what it was like in a healthcare it's in another country. So I wanted to do a bit of traveling, and I wanted to do just a tad bit more of clinical experience, and this was the perfect way to combine both of them. So I went to the Dominican Republic for 3 weeks, and I did a placement in private healthcare, public and community healthcare, where we went to bateys, which are sugar worker towns, where they were hours away from the nearest hospital, and we would open up clinics, we would talk about medications. It kind of like public health initiatives where we'd be put in a position where we'd have to educate the people in the area on a particular health issue and watch consultations take place. So again, lots of skills under my belt. Loved the experience as well. I obviously got to go to the beach, got to have a bit of fun.
Of course.
But that was a great experience, and then that made me definitely want to do medicine even more. And then after that, kind of started getting interviews. Took one interview course. I'm not going to tell you guys how much that cost, because guys, do not be paying huge amounts for interview courses. Ripped off. And then I had 3 offers. So yeah,
that's incredible, just to see kind of the difference the first time round that you applied in comparison to the second. And I know a lot of YouTubers say this, especially V, who I like admire and look up to, but rejection is redirection, and you can learn a lot from rejection. And kind of looking back in the position that you're in now, you can see that by being rejected and taking a year out, you actually gained so many more valuable kind of experiences that kind of, as you said, solidified your desire to go on to do medicine. And you spoke about how during your gap year you became a healthcare assistant, which is absolutely incredible, especially at the age that you were. And you're still a healthcare assistant now on the side of being like a medical student. Do you care to kind of elaborate about that? And one of the questions about your healthcare assistant job is, do you think being a healthcare assistant helped with your application the second time round? And what are your tips for getting a healthcare assistant job?
A healthcare assistant job definitely helped me with my application the next time round, because there's not many people who can say that they've worked in the NHS for a year and they know basically the ins and outs of what it's like to be one of the staff. What I would say in terms of tips on how to get a healthcare assistant job, I do have a blog post on this. Fran will probably like signpost at the end, but I do have a website and a blog post on this, because this was a question I got so much. But genuinely, GCSEs desirable, A levels even better. You must have an A star to C in English and maths, so kind of like the standard kind of qualifications you need for any job, and just show that you're committed to healthcare, you're a passionate person about health and about caring for patients. And even say in your application you're an aspiring doctor. All of these things, when it came to the interview, I just spoke as if I was going for like medical school. I want to be a doctor. I feel like a healthcare assistant can help me with my career progression, and I love patient interaction and I'm a keen learner. You get trained in how to take blood sugars, blood pressures, all of these clinical skills that you then learn again in medical school. I'd already got that head start. So just be a really keen learner, have like A star to C GCSEs behind you, and you'll honestly be good to go. When you do get an interview and stuff, you will have an English and maths test to do on the day, but it's very simple. It's more like comprehension reading and then, like a drug calculations, but you won't be giving out any medication or stuff like that. You'll just be assisting the nurses mainly.
Amazing. And I guess kind of on the same topic of like having that as a job and, being a medical student at the same time, did you find it difficult to balance the two when you were in med school, or did you kind of do more of the healthcare assistant work during the holidays? How did you go about balancing commitments with, a full-time degree?
First year was definitely intense. I mean, that was more like a 9 to 5 at uni. So in terms of my healthcare assistant job, it definitely took a back seat. The good thing about being a healthcare assistant is that I was permanent staff for 6 months, which is the minimum number of months you have to work as a healthcare assistant in order to become part-time. So if you are thinking, I'm just going to be a part-time healthcare assistant and apply when I get into medical school, you can't do that unless you've been a healthcare assistant for 6 months already, because they need to know that you're very competent in the skills required to care for patients. So just bear that in mind. If you're going to be a bank part-time HCA, you must have had 6 months permanent experience, full-time experience prior. The good thing about being a part-time HCA is that you only have to actually work one shift every 3 months. So that's literally what I did, the bare minimum to remain as a part-time HCA, because first year was just so busy. But as the years go on and I have more clinical placements, it's less of sitting in a classroom or sitting in a lecture theatre. It's becoming more clinical. I definitely take up more HCA shifts on the weekends or the holidays to kind of support, especially in Christmas where they're very short-staffed and very overwhelmed, and get that clinical experience as well that can help me in my actual clinical placement. So that's how I've managed it so far.
Amazing. And I can say just from my first year of medicine that it's not easy balancing commitments alongside your degree. So you did an amazing job doing that, like alongside first year and years afterwards. And the next question sent in by Clinton is, what did you get in your BMAT and UCAT, if you feel comfortable sharing? And I guess on the same topic, we can kind of give advice, kind of say like our number one tip, or number one mistake that we made when preparing for both admissions tests, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, and a lot of students will have their UCAT and BMAT coming up.
Definitely not. I saw this question down below, so I quickly brought out like my old archives because I completely forgot my results. So I took my BMAT in 2015, guys. Like, that was so long ago. And I got a 3.1, which is not good, 5.2, and then section 3, which is the essay, was a 2.5A. So the top you can get is a 5A. So already 2.5 was like half marks for content and an A for the fact that I had good grammar and punctuation. So my BMAT scores, as you can tell, were not good at all. Not enough for Oxford and Imperial, that's for sure. UCL still interviewed me, but when they questioned me on the essay, I'd completely forgotten what I wrote and froze, and gosh, we can talk about that another time. UCAT round got 650, and then UCAT second time round I got 733 as an average. I don't know what that is as a whole, like 2000 something, but
yeah, my maths is not up to scratch to do that in my head.
Yeah. I definitely did better the second time round. So in 2016, the UCAT, I didn't bother taking the BMAT again.
And what do you think kind of changed your score dramatically with the UCAT? Did you do anything differently? Did you prepare like any different the second time round?
Yeah, so with the UCAT this time, I actually took it seriously, like it was an actual exam. So the first time round, for some reason, I thought, it's just going to be a computer exam, kind of like an IQ test.
Nope.
It's definitely not. And seeing how many of you are revising and taking this seriously it's just so obvious why I didn't get in. It's like, what was I thinking? So I actually, I used Ninja, which is Ali, I think it's affiliated with Ali Abdul, and I just banged out questions. So kept doing questions every day, and one of the topics that I greatly increased in was abstract reasoning. Like, once you pick up the there isn't an infinite number of patterns, there's a finite number of patterns. There are only so many patterns they're going to show you, and once you know the patterns to look out for, you will whiz through that section and you can honestly score so high. So that bumped up my score majorly, and just kind of taking it more seriously, using all the resources out there. My advice to anyone doing it now would be to maybe find a cheat sheet or a UCAT ebook going around, because there's so many going around at the moment. Pick one, spend the first week kind of familiarizing yourself with the questions, going through it, and then after that start attempting questions, but letting yourself get it wrong, kind of really understanding where you're going wrong, whether that's through the 1250 UCAT book or whether that's through online question banks. After that, then start going through questions, timing yourself, testing yourself, and putting on the pressure. Week 4, past papers, and you've given yourself a month. You've not completely overworked yourself. You can take weekends off, and I think that's a slow but productive way to go about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that advice. And just to kind of add on, in terms of the resources that are available out there, I think it's important to say that like there are so many paid and really expensive courses out there for the UCAT and BMAT, which unfortunately are overpriced and exploiting prospective med students. I'd like to say that there's an abundance of free and really cheap and worth it resources out there. There are plenty of question banks out there for free, such as the Medic Portal. They have a question bank. And also I'd like to recommend videos, because for me, I'm more of an auditory learner, so like reading through guides, reading through advice posts didn't really kind of like stay in my head. It went in one ear and went out the other ear. Whereas watching videos such as the Journey to Med series of videos, they've actually compiled 5 videos covering all the main sections of the UCAT, really help. And also watching videos like this where students actually sit down and tell us kind of their best tips, the mistakes they made, things to avoid, also really help. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question, Clinton. Make sure to send in more in the comment section if you have any follow-up questions. Yeah, moving on to the next one, which is for you, Jess, and this is about how did you deal with rejection, and did you ever consider grad entry medicine as an option?
So in terms of rejection, I will give myself a bit of credit. I did take it quite well. I don't think I cried once, but I think for me, with my, I know. I think with me though, my issue was that I knew in advance that I wasn't going to do medicine. So after my interviews from UCL and Kiel in March, I got told no in like April. So May, June, doing my A-levels, I focused on that and just let nature take its course. I already knew that I wasn't getting into medicine. I was already kind of put off on my biomed option, and I kind of had it in my head that I'm going to get these grades and hopefully take a gap year dependent on what grades I got. So I'm quite a pragmatic, practical person. I like to think of the next logical solution to a problem. I give myself some time to be sad about it, but at the end of the day, I had to sit down and ask myself, do I want to do medicine, or do I want to do, like you said, another degree and then go into grad entry? And for me, I just knew that I would not be happy doing another degree. You've also got to weigh up, financial issues, like the fact that your second degree will not be supported by student loan. So you will not get as much money as you would if you were to do your first undergraduate degree. So if you are going to medicine as a grad, you've already done a degree and they're not going to fund 2 degrees for you. So you've then got the added pressure of finding scholarships, of applying to funding, hardship funds and all of this. And I just didn't think I had it in me to do that as well. So I was just like, you know what, I can feel it in my heart that I need to take a gap year. I need to work on my application and the parts that I think I really didn't prepare for properly, and go from there and do medicine as an undergrad. And it worked out. So that was my personal thinking on that. I did do like lists, pros and cons. I spoke to people who did enter medicine as a grad, who were currently on biomed or medical science courses, and I just felt that it wasn't for me and I needed to do undergrad med. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing kind of your experiences and your advice to any students out there who may have dealt with rejection, especially with yesterday's results day. And just to kind of add on to that, it's so important that you kind of not only kind of take time to reflect on what's happened. So as Jess said, it's okay to be sad, you know, it's also okay to cry, because, you know, at the end of the day, these grades do matter, regardless of kind of what you see on the internet about grades not mattering. To a lot of students who have put their all into what they like, their work, their GCSEs, their A-levels, grades do matter to us, and they do form a large part of determining whether we'll move on to the next steps in our lives. But it's also important that we're quite practical and realize that although the world is unfair, especially in this circumstance where a lot of students are being rejected on the basis of grades that they didn't even achieve, for exams they didn't even sit, the world is unfair, and that's just a fact of life. And we need to be practical about things and visualize the next steps that we need to move on to the next stages of our lives. So whether that's like Jess, you know, taking a year out, reflecting on what went wrong in her application the first time round in order to address them the second time round, or whether that's because you didn't get the grades, and kind of visualizing what's the next steps to ensure that with the October resits, I get the grades, I smash the grades that I need for medicine, contacting all the relevant kind of sources, whether that's universities or teachers, to find out whether you need to do things like resitting your admissions tests or whether, you know, you don't have to do that is so important. So you know in your head what you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question, Rebecca. And yeah, make sure to keep sending in the questions. I'm loving all the interaction that we're getting so far. Next question, sent in by Nagami, and this kind of addresses something we answered previously about why you actually took a gap year. So if you just want to like quickly summarize it for people who've joined the live slightly later.
Yeah, that's fine. So I took a gap year because I was unsuccessful to all of my medical school applications first time round. For me, it wasn't necessarily grades, because for my A-level grades, I did get 4 A's. However, when it came to applying to medical school, I applied to 3 BMAT unis, which was Oxford, Imperial and UCL, and 1 UCAT uni, which was Keele. I didn't do very well on the BMAT, which meant that these 3 universities were not very happy with my score. And although UCL gave me an interview, Imperial and Oxford outright rejected me. And then, yes, my interviews for UCL and Keele did not go very well. I lacked preparation for both admissions tests. I did not have a clue about how many hoops you have to jump through to actually do the medical school application, which meant that, you know, I turned up to interview thinking I could wing it, when really there were people who had practiced, who had actually thought about why they wanted to do medicine, who had the relevant and necessary experience and could reflect on it properly, and I'd just not done any of that adequately. So for me, it was a lot more about the medical school process and really educating myself on what it takes to get into medicine. So compared to some people who may be in this chat worrying about the fact that they've got to retake exams, I didn't have extra worry. However, that's the reason I took my gap year, and there are quite a few people who may be in the same position, so don't worry too much, but that was my personal reason.
Amazing. And the next comment that's been sent in is saying how incredible you are, Jess. I just wanted to highlight that you are absolutely incredible, because although like these were your experiences and this is what you went through with your first kind of results day, you've done so well for yourself. I love how, like, despite kind of life knocking you down, you picked yourself up and you went and did it and got your offer for King's College medical school, and you're doing so well. You're going into your 4th year of medical school, which as going into my 2nd year, I can appreciate that takes so much, like, just, you know, dedication, effort, because med school is difficult. And, you know, you've done so well, and as you've mentioned before, you've actually set up kind of a mentoring scheme. You've set up a website to provide prospective students with resources, and I'll put it all in the description bar below. But Jess, if you just kind of want to speak about your progress with Jess website, the things that you kind of offer, and also your Instagram page, girl, because you got to flex it. You've done this so well for yourself and you are incredible, as the comment does say.
Yes, so the lovely Fran through Instagram. I think the Medstagram community is a flourishing community at the moment, and it's honestly what I love about medical students in general is that we love giving advice and we love giving back. I think all of us, even those of you applying to medicine now, can all agree that we love to help others. We love to give back to our communities, to our schools, to everybody who helped us get to where we are. And it's what we will be doing every single day as doctors. And I think that's how I met Fran, through the Medstagram community. And
through Instagram.
For my gap year, I just shared pictures and captions about what I was doing on my gap year, being a HCA, and all that sort of stuff. And it attracted people who wanted to do medicine. And I had loads of DMs asking how to get in, how I got a job as a HCA. And ever since those...
I'm sorry, my sister's just rang me. Carry on, Jess. Sorry about that. Oh no.
And ever since then, the messages that I've got and the people reaching out has just like exponentially increased. So I just decided to make my Instagram very open to those messages and about what my life is as a medical student, but also all the stuff that I do outside of that, whether that's social or extracurricular. And because it was getting quite, you know, I love talking to people on DM, but obviously under 18s, I have to establish that boundary. And also I wanted to have something that was accessible to all, whether that's teachers, staff, you know, these people may not, your parents wouldn't be following me on Instagram. So I think I started my website to have blog posts and everything medicine related in one place where people could literally read up, and anything they wanted to ask me, there's a place to submit your inquiries. I do read and review personal statements for free. I am offering interview practice, especially if you've got an interview for clearing. I'm currently doing free interview practice for that. And I hope to keep these 3 free throughout the year, as if medical school permits. But it's literally just a website. I decided to make progress with Jess.co.uk. It's just a place where all of my medical stuff is in one hub, and it not only supports those of you trying to get into medicine, but also those of us already there, because I think medical students and medical schools really lack in telling their students what opportunities are out there for personal development, professional development, getting that CV really, up to par, getting those junior doctor positions that you might want in the future, and also learning that there's a lot of different types and routes of careers within medicine. You don't actually have to be a doctor. You could be someone in management. You could be a hospital CEO if you wanted to. You could sit on the board of an NHS trust. You could work in politics and be Department of Health. And just knowing that there's a lot of different routes you can take with your medical degree, and kind of just signposting students to that and letting them know how to get involved in uni and make the most of it whilst you're there, because you're there for quite a while.
Incredible. I swear, every time you talk, I'm just inspired and blown away by kind of all your achievements. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, for those of you who, after kind of Jess explaining her website and everything she does, want to access that, I've put the link to her website on screen. So after this live stream, do check that out. Also, the link to her Instagram page will be in the description bar below. So yeah, next question sent in by Joanna. She says, I missed my offer for med school yesterday and I've been feeling so down. I found it difficult to see the light at the end of the road. What is your advice for being optimistic in such times?
Joanna, well, what I would say, and it's what I've been telling my younger sister, because she's also an A-level student who wasn't happy with her grades, is that give yourself time to be sad. Give yourself time to cry. That's absolutely normal. I mean, it's literally the day after this news, and as someone who didn't even receive results, it rocks my spirit. Like, I have been angry for no reason. Okay, no, for good reason. Actually,
yeah, I was gonna say.
Just been so angry. Yeah, I've just been so angry. It may not be in my grades, but I'm so upset for the students that have been literally failed by this system that we're currently in. However, like I mentioned before, I'm quite a practical, pragmatic person. After I've given myself that time to be sad and be upset about what's happened, it's about the next steps. It's about what are you going to do now? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to determine whether you end up getting medicine or not. And you've got to look at yourself and be like, do I want to give up? Do I want to change that? Like you mentioned before, rejection is redirection. You've not got what you wanted. You have to redirect. There's no other choice. Or you give up. And I know you're probably not like that. So, yeah, I just think you need to think about what your next steps are. Sit down and start planning out what you're going to do if you are not happy with your grades. And I would say this to anyone who's maybe got a C or a B, I would try and retake. I think that's the best thing to do in October. Try and retake whatever the grade was that you're unhappy with, because I'm not going to lie to you, a C will hold you back from a medical school application. A B, you might be lucky, but a C will definitely hold you back. And I think I got a question like this from someone who got A star, C. Retake that C, because that's all you can actually do at the moment. And start planning for what you can do in your gap year whilst you wait to reapply again. So Fran mentioned it before, you're going to have to call up university to explain your own individual circumstances. Some are saying, we're going to keep your offer on the condition that you retake, and you won't have to do UCAT, BMAT, whatever. Other universities will be like, we want you to retake it all and reapply. And you won't, the results that you got given yesterday won't be counted. It will just be what you get from now. So you've got to kind of sit down, look at the medical schools that you want to go to, explain your individual circumstances to each one, and draw up the next steps. You've got to be very practical. You've got to take time to do this. And right now is a planning stage, because it will move fast. If you're going to retake exams, you've got to start revising. If you're not going to retake exams, you've got to find out what universities are still in clearing. you've got to find out what you're going to do with your gap year. And October to December is apparently when grades, exams will be resat and grades will come out. You need to start doing that now. So give yourself from yesterday to today to be sad, to let it all out, to be angry, to get on that social media and write all your tweets. But at the end of the day, from now, it's time to think about next steps, to sit down and think about where do I go next, you know?
Thank you so much for that, Jess. And I just love how practical and realistic you are. And kind of the truth of the matter is, for a course as competitive as medicine, there will be a few hoops that we have to kind of go through. And that does include kind of getting standard grades that they expect from all students. And one thing I'd like to add is that although it may seem right now like it's the end of the world, you know, you missed your med school offer, which obviously is really, really frustrating, because, you know, if you had the chance to sit your exams, maybe you wouldn't have missed your med school offer. But one thing I'd like to say is, in the grand scheme of things, especially with a degree as long as medicine and a career as long as medicine, you know, taking a year out to reapply, or even taking 2 years out to reapply, get rejected, and maybe reapply again, will be nothing in the grand scheme of things, because, you know, 1 year in kind of a length of time of 20 plus years, which will be your career medicine, will not matter. And, you know, once you're in that FY1 post, once you're in your first year of med school, once you've kind of graduated from med school, you're going to look back and be so proud of how far you've came, and so proud that you kept going in the difficult times that you're going through right now. So just keep that in mind, bear that in mind, keep kind of your final goal in mind and where you want to kind of get to. And yeah, hopefully that's answered your question and kind of given you some inspiration. Quickly whizzing through the next couple of questions. One sent in by H asks, do you think there is stigma around taking a gap year?
Absolutely not. I've never been, you know, looked sideways because of my gap year. The only thing was actually, though, explaining to your parents.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Especially ethnic parents as well.
Definitely. So if your parents, I mean, most parents have not heard of a gap year, or when they have, they're thinking of, you're just going to travel and live your best life and party, or alternatively sit at home and play video games. You've got to make it very clear to your parents that I'm taking this gap year because I want to get into medicine, and I'm making sure that I get in. I didn't have to do much groveling or anything like that, but I said to my parents, you know, I'm looking for this job. I want to do this. Then I want to travel. Then I'm going to save up to do this. I've said it a million times. I'm pragmatic. I'll write it down. I'll produce a PowerPoint, whatever I have to do. But you need to know what you're doing in your gap year, and you need to make sure that you communicate that properly to your parents. Other than that, everybody else won't care and won't really talk about it, to be honest. Every single friend, actually, that I made at King so far, all of my close friends are either gap year or have taken multiple years out before deciding that medicine was for them, or are graduates. So genuinely, I don't think you need to worry about age, about, oh my God, you took a gap year, you must be a failure. Nobody says that. And even if they do, I've not heard them. So,
and even if they do, like, you shouldn't care about it, because at the end of the day, when you're a doctor and looking back, it won't matter about them saying that you were a failure or thinking so. So yeah, thank you for that. Kind of getting to the next question, and this has been sent in by Clinton, and he asks, how can you be sure that you will get an offer if you take a gap year with 3 A's?
Yeah, so you can never be sure if you're going to get an offer, even though you take a gap year. With 3 A's, if you're worried, if you're one of the cohort currently, I would retake one if you wanted, make it an A star, because I know if I applied now, 4 A's may have looked good, but they're looking for A stars, aren't they? Like medical school application grades keep getting higher and higher. So if you feel confident enough to retake the exam in October and get an A star, by all means, I would actually advise that. However, yes, taking a gap year, nothing is guaranteed. The only good thing is you'd be applying with 3 A's, and you'd have to look tactically at universities that will accept 3 A's. So, for example, if you're going to go for Imperial, which state I think A star, AA to AAA on their page, you've got to be aware that Imperial will most likely have very much higher grades than that. Will probably need A stars. Whereas if you've got all A's, maybe start looking to, you know, other universities that very clearly state all A's, and just do the admissions test. It's just about being tactical. But on your gap year, there is no guarantee that you'll get a place at medical school. If you're tactical, you increase those chances a lot.
Amazing. And I guess one thing to also add is that because you've got this whole year, it may seem that you've got like an infinite amount of time to get started with your application. But when the time comes, things move fast, and before you know it, it's already kind of May, kind of period of time where you have to consider kind of rewriting a personal statement or redoing the admissions test. So with the time that we have now, plan out your gap year, as Jess says. Try and be as pragmatic as possible. If you want to do things in your gap year, including traveling, working, plan that out. But do not forget that you will have to kind of reapply. You'll have to possibly do admissions tests again, and take that into consideration. Give yourself more time than you believe you'll need, so that when the time comes, you don't feel under pressure, because that's unnecessary. You have the year and you can make the most out of that year and do things kind of without that stress of being time pressured. So yeah, do you have anything else to add, Jess, or should we move on to the next question?
I don't have anything to add, but I am so sorry. I'm just realizing my video quality is not great and yours is amazing. So sorry, everybody, but I'm on my phone.
Don't worry about it. I'm sorry. I must disclaim before every single live stream. Basically, the program that I use, Jess's visuals get sent to my laptop, and then my laptop uploads it. So my laptop decreases your quality. So it's actually my laptop's fault. I'm so sorry. But
no, absolutely fine.
But like when I'm looking at you through like Skype, which is what we're calling on, like your quality looks really, really good. It's just my computer. It's just Apple. Why?
No way.
Next question sent in is actually a cute one. This is quite wholesome. And Suleika asks, "Hi, how are you?" Yeah. How are you, Jess? How have you been?
Oh. Hi, Suleika. I'm okay. I'm good. Currently, so I'm moving out next week to be closer to uni. So that's like one of my good news. Fran knows I've been stressing about this so much.
Bless.
Viewings and stuff. But honestly, I'm fine. Thank you.
And yeah, I've been really, really good. Past couple of days, I've been very lazy, kind of just binging through Netflix series. But overall, I've been doing really, really well and enjoying organising these live streams, which have been amazing because I've networked with so many amazing people, such as Jess, which has been so cool, and wouldn't have been an opportunity I would have had lockdown not happened, actually, which is quite a nice take on it. Next question sent in by Leah, and she just kind of comments on how she didn't know that there were like a set amount of hours you had to do before becoming part-time for a healthcare assistant job. Yeah, and next question,
I think she said, what are the hours before part-time?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
okay.
Leah, I'm guessing you're talking about the fact that I went from, so you have to be a full-time healthcare assistant for 6 months before you try to attempt to apply to bank, which is being a part-time HCA. So as a full-time HCA, you'll work 12.5-hour shifts, 3 to 4 times a week, as if you were like just the same as nurses. But if you are a part-time HCA, you'll be on a 0-hour contract, which means you book shifts whenever you want them. So I can book shifts 5 times. I can do 5 12-hour shifts a week, or I can do 1 12-hour shift in 3 months. So that's the only difference. There's no set part-time hours. It's not like a normal job. It's that you are very flexible with because it's a 0-hour contract, you book shifts when you need them. That's what I meant by part-time.
Cool. And next question sent in by Clinton asks, do all unis allow you to do the admissions test twice? Was unaware. And sorry if there was any confusion in our explanations, but essentially you can only do the admissions test once per academic cycle. But because of how things have been now and the confusion with COVID-19 and grades kind of being allocated via this kind of calculation, some universities may say, okay, you've missed your grades this year, however, because you didn't actually sit the exams, we'll give you the chance to resit them in October, and we'll hold your offer, and if you get the grades that you need, we will give you the place, and you don't have to resit any admissions test. We will give you an unconditional offer for you to start the next academic year. Jess, if you just kind of want to comment on that, if there's anything else.
Literally what Fran said, we don't know between us what exactly these unis are, but what you need to be doing is calling, especially if it's a uni you apply to, because that's the only uni that you can't, depending on what you applied to and what rejected you, you can't now go to, you've applied to Imperial and UCL, they've said no, and you can't now go to King's, will you hold my offer, because they never gave you an offer in the first place. what you need to do is you need to call the unis that you were unsuccessful in, find out what their policies are with UCAT and retaking, and see what they can do for you. If not, then yes, you will have to retake the UCAT or the BMAT, because this is a new academic cycle, a new academic year, and the year 12s are now going to be year 13s and applying. So yeah.
Yeah. Next question sent in by H asks, what made you opt to take a gap year instead of just entering graduate entry medicine, which you answered before, but feel free to answer again. And then his next question is, what are the pros and cons for both?
Okay, gap year pros.
Yep.
You've got complete fluidity on what you want to do with it. You'll have time to retake the admissions test to get your head around the medical school application process. You can travel, you can get a job and save up tons of money for, well, not tons, but good amount of money for uni. Cons is that you see all your age mates having fun and you get jealous. Okay. And yeah, you do feel like you are left behind, and it's very self-directed. If you're not a person with self-discipline and you're not very independent, you either need to get your gears together and aim to do that in your gap year, or a gap year may not be for you. Or you'll need to have parents around who are supportive. Pros and cons of grad medicine. I'm going to start with cons because this is what put me off. You will have to pay for this degree yourself, unless you find funding, scholarships and so forth, which I just wasn't prepared to do. And it's also, again, a risk because you may not get any scholarships. So you will have to fund almost £10,000 a year for the medical degree yourself. You have to do a whole degree before you do that, and it is even more competitive because you've got to take possibly the GAMSAT, which is the graduate entry medical exam, which is a way longer exam, more expensive exam than the UCAT, and I wasn't prepared to do that either. And yeah, just the more competitiveness. I already was finding undergrad medicine difficult. I thought I'd give this another shot before even putting myself through a whole degree where I might be resenting the fact that I didn't wait to go medicine, or that I didn't wait to go to another university. Pros is that you get to do a whole degree before you go into medicine. So you will know your learning style. You will know what university's like. You would have joined so many societies and done so many things that your personal statement will be the easiest thing you've probably ever written, because you probably would have written a dissertation. So you're going to be in a very good position. And when it comes to interviews, again, that's going to give you lots to say. So those are my pros and cons.
Amazing. And yeah, that was quite a popular question in the comment section. So I hope all of you guys feel really informed about kind of the pros and cons of going into both. Next question sent in by Alicia, and she asked, could you please explain firm and insurance choices? I understand that H explained it in the comment section. But then her next question is, how should you rank your universities based off the offers that you receive? So to kind of quickly explain what your firm insurance choice is, when you apply to UCAS, you can apply to 4 medical schools and 1 non-medical school. So in the end, you end up applying to 5 universities or courses. And then once you get your offers, you can actually rank them in terms of your first choice, which is your firm university, and your second choice, which is your insurance university. And on results day, if you get the offer that you need for your top firm university, you will get your place there will be confirmed. However, if you unfortunately don't get the grades that you need for your first choice, you will get and you make the second choice university, you will get a confirmed place at your insurance university. If you don't get either, you'll either have to go through clearing or kind of take a year out to reapply potentially. So yeah, Jess, how did you go about ranking your universities the second time round when you got 3 offers for medical school?
So I think what I thought, so I received offers from Cardiff and Queen Mary first, but I knew in my heart like King's was kind of my favourite. The way I did it was I went to open day. So I know COVID's been, look, it's ruined everybody's lives. So let's be real. It's just destroyed us all. There's been lots of virtual open days where, you know, students have spoken about their experience of the school. I think that's really helpful. But when I actually went to the university, got to have a feel of it, King's was just the one that spoke to me. Like, there was the Shard on campus, you know, I could see myself Snapchatting that every day. The students were just friendly. I loved the campus that medicine's taught on, and I just knew that King's was going to be my favourite. So I would say base it on open days. Also, it's like I've got a blog post on this about what to consider when choosing a medical school. But again, campus or city, it's a very much what you feel like you want to have. I've always lived in London, so I'm very used to city life, and I was not too bothered about going out of London or staying in, to be honest with you. And kind of looking at as well the way the course is taught. So King's had human dissection, whereas Cardiff, you only had prosection, which is when the body was already cut up for you and you would just look at it, or you would do online simulations. And I really wasn't a fan of that. I think I really want to be a surgeon, so I wanted to see real bodies and to cut real bodies. And it's helped with my anatomy so much. So I think that was a really good option for me. And yeah, just the way it's taught as well. So King's has like tutorials. You start placement from second year. It's very hands-on. That was more my type of style compared to, you know, 3 years preclinical and then, you know, then doing clinical placement. But again, there are also pros and cons of other universities that I liked, and I kind of had to just weigh which one ticked more of my boxes than the other.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Just kind of finding the pros and cons of all universities and seeing which one most kind of reflects you and which university you can see yourself most in. And especially with the current climate that we're in, it's been quite difficult to actually get an in-person experience of universities. The second best thing is these virtual open days, which I know I helped on for Oxford. And another thing I can recommend is definitely use the resources that are available. So YouTube is an amazing platform where students from all across the world, all different universities, come together and actually share their experiences of being at that university. They spill the tea on their university degree. I absolutely binged through those videos when I was actually picking my university, and yeah, I just like the honesty that's available through YouTube and students like myself and Jess kind of using our platforms to talk about our experiences openly. And feel free to drop any one of us a question, either, you know, through Instagram or through email. And yeah, hopefully that's answered your question. Next one sent in by Anika. They ask, what made you not take the BMAT the second time around?
What made me not take the BMAT? I think it wasn't the BMAT that actually frightened me, to be honest with you. I just had to be tactical. And when I was looking at the universities that my 4As matched didn't require the BMAT, they required the UCAT. So I looked at my 4As, and that just wasn't going to be good enough for the caliber of people going for Oxford and Cambridge, I thought personally. So I was like, you know, I'm not going to waste my time. I then looked at Imperial, and I thought, you know, Imperial would even said A stars aren't desirable. So I thought, you know, it's gap year, I don't want to take that risk. That one's down. UCL had this policy, I don't know if they still have it now, but once you get to interview stage, they don't accept you after that. So you cannot apply to their university for medicine again if you get to interview stage. Yeah, so when I was applying, I got to interview stage. Once they don't like you, they don't like you. So
that's crazy.
I was just like, okay, UCL down. And
UCL,
the only place
bye.
left was Keele. Yeah, and the only place left was Keele. And when I was applying to Keele the first time round, I had never even visited, and it just wasn't for me. So I was like, you know, I didn't want to apply to Keele again anyway. So I had 4 fresh new options, and I just did a bit of research, and I thought that, you know, Queen Mary was a viable option. King's was very realistic. Then I applied to Cardiff because I loved that. I wanted an out of London option, and I'm not going to lie, Cardiff is a little city. Loved it. And yeah, Exeter as well. So those were my 4 other options, and they just all required the UCAT, so I didn't need to take the BMAT. But if my grades were like A star, AA, then yeah, I would be more applying to Oxford or Imperial, and then I would proper like revise the BMAT and do it again. But it just wasn't a viable option for me, I didn't think.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much for answering that question. And the next 2 questions sent in by Clinton and Alicia, I guess we could just kind of speed through. So the first one was sent in by Clinton asking, is going to medicine as a graduate guaranteed? I guess the short answer is no. Just like any other kind of application, it's not guaranteed. You just have to do your best to make sure you're as competitive as possible. Next question sent in by Alicia asks, can you put a university with lower entry requirements as your firm if that's the university you really want to go to? Yes, you can. If that's your top choice university, then go for it. Because if you put the other university first, if you get the grades required to go to that university on results day, that will be the place that you've confirmed, and the other university that you wanted to go to, you'll have rejected that, if that makes sense. So definitely put the university that you want to go to first. Now, next question sent in by Clinton asks, did UCL give you an interview because of other strong points in your application, and what were they?
Clinton's coming with the questions today.
I know, dang. I love it. I love it.
So they didn't specifically say, you know, Jessica, well done, we like you because this. But what I can probably say is that they liked my personal statement and they asked me about it when I was there. They clearly didn't mind that I got a below average UCAT BMAT, and they were quite interested in my essay, actually, even though the content was 2.5. Obviously the A must have given me a little boost, so they asked me a lot about that essay. They liked that I had a range of work experiences and asked me about that interview as well. So I think they picked up points from my personal statement and my BMAT essay to talk to me at interview. So maybe that's why they liked me, who knows.
And another point to say, UCL like just famously will kind of use the essay to talk about an interview. So for those of you doing your BMAT this time round, I beg you, as soon as you leave the exam, having finished kind of the essay section, write down as much as you can remember about what you wrote for like in your essay, so that if you do end up applying to UCL or a university which uses your BMAT essay, that you will have not forgotten what you wrote about. That's what I did as soon as I left. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, if only like UCL
Clinton, don't be sorry.
Sorry, carry on, Jess.
No, I said Clinton, don't be sorry. He said sorry. It's fine. Keep asking the questions. We love them.
Oh yeah, we do. We absolutely love them. I wish we could like just live stream forever just to get through all of them. We're almost approaching the 1 hour mark, so we're going to try and whiz through as many more questions as possible. Next one sent in by Nagmi asks, how did you stay resilient? I'm assuming during your gap year.
Staying resilient. How do I stay resilient? I just keep thinking about, you know, what is the worst that can happen? Like I'm a yes girl. So if somebody asks me to do something or like I need to do something, my initial reaction is yes.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst? If the worst does happen, like okay, I don't get into medicine and this and that. You know, I always think it could be worse, and I try again. I say, try again. Next steps. I'm always thinking, what's next? And it's actually quite bad sometimes because obviously you don't get to relish the present. But I'm trying to work on it. It's just about staying resilient. Is about thinking, what is the worst that could happen? And if the worst has happened, how am I going to get through it to be a better person, for character development? And trust me, like every failures are going to happen in life, by the way. They're inevitable. That's what I like to think. It's like, I may not have failed now, but I am going to fail tomorrow or next week or next year. Like there's going to be something that I wanted and I don't get, because that's life. How am I going to work through that? Because that's going to determine who I am as a person and who I will be as a person years, weeks and days from now. So just think about, how can I become better from this, from everything you do? How am I going to become better from this? Don't become worse.
Word. Jess is preaching today. Jess, I'm expecting a book from you, just saying, a motivational book, because you're coming out with some amazing advice. I guess my number one thing that keeps me going, especially during first year, which was not easy at all, was just setting goals in mind. And sometimes setting a massive goal, like kind of graduating med school, can seem like unattainable in that moment of time, because it's just so big and just so in the future. So to aid in that, I always set goals to achieve my goals, so mini goals, mini steps kind of, and that keeps me going and motivates me, because I know where I'm going. If you don't know where you're going, then it's really hard to motivate yourself and stay resilient. So just always visualize, kind of as Jess said, what's your next step? Where are you going? Why do you want to get there? What's your motivation? Always just be aware of the whys. I think that's really important. Aware of the whys.
Yes, Fran, yes.
Oh my gosh. I love the validation from the queen herself. I love it. And next question sent in by Marwa asks, how did your personal statement differ as a year 13 student compared to as your gap year student?
Guys, I read that year 13 statement and I said, is this me? The thing is, as a gap year student, I gave it a look over and I had such a different mindset. So, you've been rejected from medicine. Why do you still want to do it? And I think that first paragraph is going to miraculously change, and you'll be shocked at how much, because your reason for doing it will change as well. You'll be attracted to it for different reasons. A lot of people also ask, like, you did your gap year, your gap medics experience in January, or you became a healthcare assistant in October. I barely could write anything in 15 days. I just started the job. So how did I mention that in my personal statement? Well, what I said was, I am traveling to the Dominican Republic to explore my interest in. I hope to see this difference between that and the NHS. Do a bit of research as well if you're going to go abroad and how it already changes. Is it private? Is it free? How is the free service different from the NHS service? What are the similarities? With the healthcare assistant job, I said I will be working as a healthcare assistant throughout my gap year and hope to get an insight into working for the NHS. Actually, because I'd started like October 10th, my job as a healthcare assistant, I'd already had my final personal statement done. I tried to add, a little bit here and there of the skills that I'd learned in like the first 2 days, but just talk about it as in I'm going to do this in the future. And then when you come out of that interview, be like, yeah, I did it, and this is what I did, and this is what I learned, and it was this. So don't worry about speaking into the future in your personal statement, because obviously you're on a gap year. It's what you've got to do, and just kind of reflect on why you want to do medicine, because obviously you've not got in. What keeps you going? What experiences have you done that have changed your mind? Because let me tell you, I did work experience at a hospital, but working in a hospital was a different story, guys. It was a different story. And doctors, because I was staff, they were happy to let me properly shadow them. Like, I had the type of work experience where I was following the doctor, but they didn't really care that I was there. So I was sitting in the clinic. I was like, what's that? That. Okay. Like, I didn't make the most of it. But as a person, a member of staff, going to doctors and saying, can I watch that lumbar puncture? Can I take bloods? Can I take that cannula out? They were so happy to help me, and even like used to celebrate my like small wins on the ward and things like that. She got an interview, she got this. So make the most. Tell everybody you want to do medicine, and yeah, it's really fun.
That's so amazing to hear, and I always admire kind of your healthcare assistant like stories and experiences. It's just so amazing. And if you've got the chance to kind of get that job and work as a healthcare assistant, definitely go for it, because as Jess explained, you need a certain amount of hours full-time before you can work part-time, and that might not be doable once you're in med school. So gap year is the perfect time to get experiences like that. And yeah, next question, which will be one of our last, is sent in by Pork Chop, and I think this is one of the more practical questions. How can you get an academic reference for the UCAS if you're reapplying after leaving school? Also, can you use the A-level that you got in the previous year for your application?
Yeah, so if you're not retaking your A-levels, the A-levels you've got they stand forever. So the 4 A's, I just put them on the statement. It wasn't pending anymore, it was what I'd got. You will also get unconditional offers because you obviously meet the grades, you meet the UCAT, you meet the interview. So once you get that interview success, you'll have an unconditional offer. Can you, the academic reference, go to the teacher from your old school. So I went back to my sixth form and I spoke to the teacher that helped me through the medical application the first time round. And I said, you know what? Could you like help a girl out? I'm taking a gap here, and you were the teacher that was most involved, and I would love you to write a reference for me, and they should be happy to.
Amazing. And next question sent in by oh my gosh, I'm gonna actually butcher this name. Indevere asks, were you scared when getting your A-level results? And I guess this is a question for like both of us. So Jess, if you just want to kind of go first, because you had almost 2 results cycles, if that makes sense.
Yeah. First time, yeah. So I was definitely scared when getting my A-level results, but I opened them. I was actually a little bit disappointed because obviously I was one of those people that wanted A stars and stuff. But again, I was thinking, what's next? How can I be better?
I actually love that. Jess is like, okay, this happened, but what's next? I love that. I need some more of that.
What about?
For me, A-level results day, because I had I did fortunately get my offers. I had the offers riding on it, so the night before I just could not sleep at all. And I know A-level results day has already happened, but for GCSE students who are watching this, the worst thing you can do is deprive yourself of sleep the night before. Easier said than done, of course, but try to sleep. And the mistake that I made was student room. I was one of those student room warriors. who would go on student room the night before. I wouldn't say anything, like I wouldn't comment, I'd just read through the forums, and it was anxiety inducing. So just avoid any conversation. Social media, again, just avoid it, because it's going to be filled with things about results day, and it just doesn't make you feel more kind of at ease. It just makes your anxiety and stress that much worse. So just avoid that. Jess, you were going to say something?
No, I was gonna just agree with the student room thing. Just don't do it.
Oh, student room. I don't know if that thing does more good than harm, not gonna lie, because especially during like when you're sitting your A-levels, there's people are probably aware of this, there's like the unofficial mark schemes that come out as soon as you leave the exam. I never understood how people could so quickly get together an official mark scheme like 2 minutes after the exam. But yeah, just avoid student room for the life of you, because it's just going to increase your stress. Right, I think this is going to be one of the final questions, Jess. Sorry that we've kind of gone over the 1 hour mark, and this okay, right, sent in by Pork Chop again. If you get a really good grade, say A*, but couldn't get any offers from any of the med schools, can you reapply by using... Okay, right, you've already answered that. You can, your A-levels stand, and you can apply the next year with the same grades.
Yeah.
Okay, this is more about like life as a medic. So what are your opinions on going paperless for med school, i.e. getting an iPad to write notes and do your work in, if either of you have done so?
I'm paperless, so semi-paperless. I love posters, so the only time I use paper is for posters, and I put them up in my room, this is usually for processes or visualizing anatomy, things like that. But honestly, most of my stuff is notes on a laptop, paperless. I don't have an iPad.
I, on the other hand, am still a bit of a mess. I'm still trying to work out what works best for me. So at the start of the year, you know, I was really excited about like starting med school. I got my first iPad on the Apple deal. So I got iPad and the Beats that came with it. Absolutely amazing. And I was just getting so excited with my new Apple Pen. And I actually went paperless for like the first term. And I really enjoyed it. Like the fact that everything was like in one place. However, what I did miss was just the whole traditional experience of having paper and pen, you know, having folders, carrying that around. I really, really missed that. And so something happened in first term, which is quite embarrassing, but I lost my Apple Pen. So that kind of just forced me to going back to use traditional paper and pen. But based off kind of experience in the two, I must say going paperless, either, you know, writing on an iPad or using your laptop, will save you so much stress. Because when it comes to finding kind of notes quickly, when you've got it online, there are so many more tools that allow you to navigate through your notes. For example, if you've typed them up on your laptop, there are search features that mean that if you want to find your notes about, say, the esophagus, really random, but you can just type that in and it comes up. Whereas if you're more traditional, you've got a folder, you have to kind of go through all your notes to find out a small piece of information, and kind of it's just such a burden having to carry around like heavy folders, and having it all in the same place, and the ability to back it up on a drive or on like an external high drive just makes it that much safer. So I do recommend kind of getting an iPad or a new laptop if you can afford it. On the topic of like affordability, I do know that a lot of universities will be very, very helpful when it comes to funding, especially if you come from like a household which has a low income. So definitely check out the bursary opportunities available at your university. And to my awareness, the University of Leicester actually give free iPads to all their students. That, I don't know if it's this year, but last year they did. Last year they gave free, I think it was iPad Pros to all medical schools, medical students, sorry. That was one of the reasons why I was like considering applying to Leicester, just for that free iPad. But then I was just like, girl, snap out of it. Snap out of it. When you're a qualified doctor, you'll be able to afford as many iPads as you want. But yeah.
I don't know if you want to do them or not.
It depends on you. It really depends on you, because obviously you're giving up your time for it. Do you have...
I think if nobody's asking anymore, so just those two, and then because they're quite quick, I think. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so next one sent in by Clinton again asks, okay, right. There is a lot of pressure with thinking that I have to be genius to get into medicine. These doubts are making me question my successfulness with offers. How do I overcome that?
Medicine. I actually don't know where this comes. Actually, I probably comes from the fact that, you know, we do have to learn a lot of content, and you do have to be a hard worker. But there's a difference between being a hard worker and a genius. Every single person who gets into medicine is a hard worker, because think about how many hoops you have to jump through to actually get in, to go through that process for let's be real, it's a great outcome, but it's, again, a long degree. It's very hard work. It puts a lot of students off. But why does it attract some of us? Because we're willing to put in the work and we're willing to work hard for the outcome on the final, being a doctor and stuff like that. So it's not about being a genius. It's about being willing to put in the hard work. I don't think you should doubt yourself, but I think definitely use a bit of that pressure to build yourself up and push you to do the best you can do. Like, every sacrifice and challenge that I've risen to has actually always paid off in some way. And even if from the outside it doesn't look like it has, I've always become a better person from it. So it's about being a hard worker, not a genius, because everybody in medicine is finding their own way of learning, and we don't always get things right. And we're working with people from so many different backgrounds and so many different cultures that we're not like these people that have a monopoly of knowledge. We are learning every single day. It's just about being committed, dedicated, and hardworking. And you don't, like a lot of people in the world are not actually those things.
Yeah, for sure. For me, definitely going into medicine, particularly Oxford University, I did have this kind of preconception that everyone would be super genius and I would kind of be at the bottom of the barrel and I'd be surrounded by Stephen Hawkins and Einsteins. And although, those people do exist, like, we're not even going to say like they don't, because they do. The majority of people are exactly like me, you, Jess, hardworking, we're just willing, we just want to get to the next phase of life. We want to do as good for ourselves as possible. And as Jess says, being hardworking completely tops, having, natural intelligence, which if you do have is absolutely amazing. But being hardworking is character defining, and they kind of teach you the skills that you need for the next stage of your life. Medicine as a career, although it is incredibly difficult, it requires a lot of kind of resilience, and that kind of resilience you build through being hardworking, through your A-levels, your GCSEs, the whole process of getting into medicine. So you know what, like, I'm so happy that I'm not one of these kind of naturally gifted. At times I wish I was, but I'm so happy that I've had to work so hard to get to where I was, because it's given me, it's built my character in the sense that I'm more equipped to go into this profession of medicine, which will require me to be kind of so resilient, so perseverant.
It's 100% Clinton. Like, I think people on the outside looking in mistake genius for hardworking in medicine. They think medical students, of course we have, like, doctors just have this automatic trust from the public, and they are seen as all-knowing, because when things go wrong with people's health, it's the first people they turn to. But it's just not the case. And I think as you're a hard-working person who can demonstrate that at interview as well, you will be a great doctor. So don't worry.
Amazing. Final question sent in by Emanuela asks, do either of you, or for anyone on live, know about how the people who are doing October exams will be able to apply to medicine? Because obviously the deadlines will be, before some of the exams.
So we kind of mentioned before that it might be a case where look at where you've applied and where you were unsuccessful, call them up, because some of them may keep your offer and make it unconditional, dependent on the fact that you retake those exams and you get those grades. So it means you won't have to then book UCAT, book BMAT, do all of this stuff, because all they want you to do is retake the exams that you never got to take in the first place. So please call up your universities and find out, explain your individual circumstances and find out if that's an option for you. If they're very much like, no, it's a new application cycle, then you start planning your next steps. When should I take the UCAT? Because you need to take it pretty much in September. What subjects do I need to start revising for? But I know at the moment universities, they'd be quite cruel to say no to that. And I hope, I'm fingers crossing for all of you, that they're happy to hold your offers on the conditions that you meet those grades in October to December. So fingers crossed, but call them, find out specifically.
Yes, and definitely do that now so that you have as much time as possible to prepare for what you have to do next. I think especially with everything that's happening now, everything's moving so fast and everything's so time sensitive. So make sure you know exactly what you need to do now. And yeah, thank you so much, Jess, for staying for so long to answer all these amazing questions sent in by the amazing students who've been watching my live streams. And yeah, okay, there's one more question that's came through.
It feels wrong to almost
Yeah,
close it down.
honestly, like this has been the first live stream that we've got through every single question. So Jess, if you don't mind, we'll quickly answer Isa's question. We'll bang it out. We'll bang it out. Amazing. Right. Last question. What is the difference in terms of the application process between conventional medical degree and one with a foundation year? Ooh, okay.
So no difference in these applications. The only difference probably will be is that the foundation year will have lower grades, grade acceptances than the conventional medical degree. So please, you will have the same interview. You will have to meet the same requirements. The only difference that may be is that they are happy to offer you a contextual offer. So, for example, they can let you off if you got AAA to AA. If you got AAB, they can let you come in if you know it was AAA. But it won't be a mad thing where it's like A star AA and you've got BBC. You know, the foundation year, you're still not going to make it. It's exactly the same process as a conventional medical degree. The only difference will probably be the grades.
And also one thing to add is that the foundation year is open up to students who didn't do the traditional A levels as well. So say if you did more kind of humanity subjects and then you kind of decide to want to do medicine, you know, foundation year is the way to go because you can get in without having done biology, chemistry, and like the standard 3 A levels. In that foundation year, what you'll learn will be slightly different. I think they'll be kind of taking you through all the basic chemistry and biology that you need to know so that you feel fully equipped to do your medicine degree. And I think the only difference is that it's a year longer in most cases. Yeah, so that's the only difference. Hopefully that's answered your question. Okay, right. Okay, no more questions have came through. Amazing. We've got so many amazing comments being sent in oh, thank you, that's so sweet. And Clinton said, my mum said God bless to both of you. God bless you too, and I'm so happy that you've enjoyed and found this live stream helpful. With that said, I want to thank Jess once more for kind of taking time out of her really, really busy schedule to come on this live stream and just share your pearls of wisdom with the people that have watched us today. Thank you so much, and I need to get you on my channel again, although I don't live in London. It's gonna happen because you're amazing.
I have yet to meet Franceska in real life, but I'm so excited because we will. But thank you so much for having me on your amazing channel. I hope all of your subscribers, and you get more subscribers, I hope everybody enjoyed it. And yeah, I can't wait to come again. So honoured to be a special guest.
Oh, don't say that. I'm honoured to have you. And yeah, guys, with that said, we're going to end the live stream here. I hope you have enjoyed it, and yeah, make sure to give it a like. And if you kind of missed any of the sections, this will be available for you to review tomorrow when the video is kind of processed. So make sure to, and also make sure to check out Jess's social medias. It's on screen right now, her website, and in the description bar below is a link to her website and her Instagram page. So please check her out. And yeah, with that said, we're going to love you and leave you and see you in the next live stream. Bye everyone.
Bye.